Thanks for introduction. Yeah, I'm Shahram. Very excited today to be here, and I would like to share with you some of our experience in the RL domain, specifically for manufacturing. So it has been quite long story. We've been doing RL for now about 4 or 5 years, um, and yeah, I would like to share with you a bit some of the challenges and how do we use white and biases to a bit improve. And this presentation is with the help of my colleague Maximilian. We want to get best. So let's talk about Festo.
Festo sets the world in motion by enabling the production of nearly everything we use, need, drive, or consume in our everyday life. From parts, pills, and parcels, to cars, drills, and stem cells. From software to hardware. From innovation to implementation. From maintenance to confidence. From learning from nature to working with nature. From pneumatics to electrics and synergies created in the mix. Easily moving what matters. With the best holistic motion portfolio from one hand in a simply perfect choreography. We elevate industry standards to new highs and drive emissions to new lows. We set the course with insightful advice and by answering complex questions to create the best possible applications with automation and education. This is our promise to our customers. This is what moves us. Automation for a world in motion. Festo.
Okay, so hope this video will give you some overview of what Festo is doing. So we are a very innovative company all over the industries when it comes to manufacturing, and we see the trends. So we see, of course, all of you also see that LLM words is coming and general purpose solutions, especially in digital projects. Today we also saw a lot of talks on that is ready. And for manufacturing, however, is not yet there. So obviously we've been working also a lot and following the trends and working together with the big partners, but it's not there. However, is also we see it is not very far. So we are quite close. I can't tell exactly how many years is left to get this general purpose AI to the manufacturing domain, but for sure it's coming in. For us, we divide the AI generally or RL or any intelligent solutions to manufacturers in three categories based on their decision and the latencies that you need in manufacturing. So in very bottom, we have AIs which are on devices. Those are things that can run in the kilohertz, and we already having them. So we are distilling the models. We're putting really, really tiny small neural networks on the small controller or small processors with very small amount of the data. And then you become up, it become a PLC level. It's more like edge computers where you have no gigabytes of memories and perhaps you have some accelerator inside. So this is another type of the AI. And very good example here is predictive maintenance, where you predict when some device is going to break or when some part of the manufacturing line is not going to work. And then we go upper where it comes the cloud levels, more closer to the digital world, right? Like many other example. For today talk, however, I'm going to focus more on reinforcement learning. That's what I'm doing. And reinforcement learning been around for really long times and promise with it very good frameworks. It's very simple, right? You have an agents and then you have an environment. They should work and interact with each other and hopefully get the feedback. And that's it. That's all you need. So then that agent or that model learns to do a task. It's been very big debate whether it can be end-to-end or whether you need another AI agent or you need another model. So this is another topics, not for today. But I want to say, if this is good, so why is not actually in manufacturing? Why don't we see reinforcement learning in robotics or in the physical world? And challenges are actually huge. It's not that easy. The reason is that because, of course, in industry, we have many, many customers from many domains. This could be digital world as well as the physical world. And requirements are very different, as I show already, for example, in the latency and in the applications. And everything is changing. I think this is not only to the manufacturing, this is for everywhere. But of course, we are dealing with the physical world. So if we want to update the firmwares, we have to connect somehow to that object or that physical device to get update. And the requirement is changing, hardware is breaking down, it gets older, and we have to deal with all this. So we came up with the idea that, okay, in order to bring this RL to the manufacturing, we should increase our speed in the rapid prototyping. Otherwise, it used to be at least that if you want to run some project or some RL project, it will take you a year before you can even run it on some robot and get some results. And therefore, yeah, it's just dies. Often the projects were dying. So the speed was very important. And then with this speed, because in the world also we are seeing the new vision language models are coming, new open source models are coming. So we should be able to quickly evaluate them, assess them, and try them in the physical world. And very important here is the cost. So since at the moment, at least, there is no direct clients, right? We are not selling to someone RL or reinforcement learning. Obviously, we need to keep the cost down. So we should be quick, but at the same time, we can't be very expensive. I want to give you some examples. So I will not go today to so many examples of our work, but I want to give you one example. For example, we worked last year, and then we also published it in the ICRA conference, is depowdering problems. So in the 3D printing world, if you 3D print the objects, as you see in these pictures, it comes with a lot of powder around it. And then human has to somehow clean these objects by brushing it or blow air to it manually, and takes hours and hours, and is also not very safe. And our idea was that, okay, can we build an RL agent that can automatically go around this object, blow air to it, and clean it? So basically, the task would be generating trajectories for a robot that can safely go around a 3D object. And then for such projects, to just give you contents, so that would be the size of 6-person months of engineers, of a budget that you can get, at least for us. I don't know, for some other companies may be different, so that we can build this proof of concept and see whether this is going to work or not. But obviously, this requires a lot of new techs. So we need to build our simulation, we need to build a pipeline, training, and everything's from scratch. And therefore, it's not going to be very quick, but it still need to keep in the budget. So we also don't have so much money for the compute and equipment, because this is just a POC. We always, like I guess everyone else, start with some baseline. So this is also a very well-known problem, right? It's a travel salesperson formulation where you want to go around and points in the space as efficient as possible, as fast as possible, but try to visit every stations in, for example, in these objects. Then we knew the only way to go, and at the moment this is really big trends, is in manufacturing, is a simulation. It's, for example, in this case, it would be impossible to collect the data from real world at the amount of the data normally you need. Therefore, we have to simulate everything. Of course, we use a GPU accelerator simulator, so then it's much faster, and also we can vectorize it and scale it. Here in this video, you see the final results. This is a reinforcement learning agent, which is in charge of the control of the robot joints. So this robot has 7 joints, and agents command them to which degree they should move in order to go around this chair. You can see also real world example of motions and then simulations one-to-one. You could also think about this task as like a spray painting. You want to paint some objects, you want to visit different places. But in our case, of course, is cleaning, is not spraying. Okay, so I hope I give you some example where and what are the problems we are solving. And at least, as I mentioned, this specific use case is also available online. If you're interested, you can read our paper and see how did we scale it, how do we train it. But rest of my talks is a bit more about white hand biases. So how do we use it within the company, within the research, to be faster and to be quicker? So for us, weight and biases for a whole experiment is actually like if you had a traditional experiment where you had just one run, at least in the old times, this is not the way for the RL, right? You will not do a data set that you just run and then you're done with it. So we have bunch of experiments, normally really a lot of experiments. And then all these experiments, of course, they can be tagged together to build a larger experiment. So you have one experiment that inside there is many runs that you did many things. For example, you try to evaluate your simulations, you try to find out hyperparameter, you try to find problems in the world and so on. And this is where we can keep a track of our activities. Other thing is that, of course, these experiments and this RL running is very often, for us at least, is not running on one device. Is multiple device, is on-premises clusters or edge devices, is AWS, is a normal computers or developers, as well as is over the time. So it's not sometimes some stuff is not ready in real world. So therefore we have to experiment, we have to wait for some results, and then later are comings. And for us, the only way to keep tracks of everything is to bring everything to the weight and biases. So across of thousands of many different experiments, so we send everything to the weight and biases. This includes the configuration, software versions, hardware, method, parameters we use, and everything goes there. So this is like our way of doing it, and this way we can be it can be very powerful for us, because now we can use one source to track everything and get all information that we need from our experiment. But it doesn't end there. And I think this was one thing that at least we learned a lot. We started also this way. So then we were just observing and using all this information and in weight and biases and try to rerun experiment. But we slowly start to learn that, okay, but no, actually, if we have such a powerful place, which all our information is documented, we could have yet another software that can use this information now. So we can slowly also reduce the human works. So you can think about it. If you have one experiment which perhaps have thousands of settings, like robot frictions and the object sizes and the parameters of your models and so on, very quickly become bigger and bigger, and it become like millions of settings. And now if we have all of them sent to the cloud, so we could use our own software using the weight and biases API to automatically drag information from it. And then it gives us some summary. So we try to reduce this works that we used to do it with the eyes. We have to go to the experiments, select them one by one, and choose what we want to do. No, we are also automating them. One very important feature, at least for us, we use it a lot, and I recommend it if in case you want to do reinforcement learning, especially in physical world, is a lunge feature in the weight and biases. How many of you are familiar with lunge? Okay, one. Yeah, that's good. So it's actually surprisingly really useful things. And the idea between lunch is that is some simple deployment kind of solution. Is not really a cluster manager, but let's say you have an RL agent that is run on your computer, just a normal computer you have on your laptops and GPU machines. And then you have also bigger machines in cloud that run something as well. So now the question is that how do you synchronize them? How do you run your experiments? So do you go one by one, open the terminal in your computer or in clusters, or you write some scripts, and the launch will help you this. So launch will help you to actually, based on your Docker and containers, just run things automatically. You can put them in the queue and you can run your experiment no matter where you like. And very useful. So this will make it actually possible that now you run your experiment on your workstations, on your company clouds, on the external cloud, even in the real robot data collections. So that all can be done with lunch. So that was one thing that I wanted to share with you for lunch. If you want later on, take it in and go and learn about it. Another point that we spent times, once we did all this sending stuff to the cloud and use the launch and automate. So as I mentioned, the goal is to be faster and faster in prototyping and reduce the cost. So we start to actually integrate all our software to the also IDE. So at the end of the day, we as an engineer says, okay, if every run you want to make, it takes you a minute, is not going to work out. Because if you are going to run 10,000 experiments, so you will need 10,000 minutes to just run, just click run. So therefore, we have to reduce these run options. And for us, we integrated to the IDE with a hotkey and with having all this information and CLI from launch. It will take us 2 seconds or maybe a second event. So the config is there. We configure our hyperparameters. We could even use the agentic AI to configure for us our hyperparameter. And the only thing you need is a shortcut of your IDE, or right click and say run. And then automatically everything goes through the whole systems and it goes there. It goes to the white and biases. We mirror it to their local storages. And then we have all the models and registries and run save that then we can reuse them. So it's both way. For us, at least, it's both way. We not only send the data and monitor it as a human, but we also use those data with our softwares to help us to generate more experiment. So for us, every key steps in the development, it should not take more than, as I say, 1 click. This is where we learn, at least in reinforcement learning world, because we are talking about thousands of experiments. And if you lose minutes by just being busy in the shell scripts or some manual works, then it's a problem. And it was very helpful for us with the white and biases to make these IDE integrations. Another features which was very useful in RL, and for me at least as a research group in the research department in the company, is that of course we have different stakeholders as well. So we data scientists or ML engineers we would like to see performance, hyperparameters, resources, and so on. But perhaps our managers or business managers, they are not so much interested about this. They are maybe interested about final results. And that was very useful for us to create different views where you can have share it with your colleagues and different stakeholders that they can see the results of your analysis based on what they are interested. So they will not get bored by thousands of the visualizations. So these views are very helpful as a snapshot. Then it helps people to really understand your experiment and make it their business decisions. When it comes to the scaling of experimentation, as I mentioned here, you can see, so if as much as you reduce the human effort, of course, it's going to be much easier to scale as you can increase your compute. So takeaways, one, at least the discussion is that without a good management of the experiment process, then you can really not go at a speed that is needed, at least for RL world. Yeah, so my takeaway is that RL for industrial environments actually has really huge potentials, but maybe it has been seen a little bit sometimes too easy. So yeah, because there's a lot of examples over the internet that you can look and you can quickly train on something in the simulation, some agents that quickly start to walk and run in a few minutes. But when it comes to the real world, there's so many challenges and which are possible to solve. But of course, you have to really take care of them, because otherwise you end up to developing something that you thought it will take a week, but actually a year. And by that time, maybe that project is not anymore relevant. Case of white and biases, at least we were very happy with this integration of all the models and all the launch, as I mentioned, and different techniques, which help us to improve our automation. With this, I will finish my talks and take questions. Thank you.
Thanks a lot.